Hey all, first up, big thanks to Phil from Wargamers Anonymous for letting me gatecrash his challenge. This is a 500 points a month Tale of Four Gamers style Oldhammer 6th edition slow grow your own army. So I got really excited when I saw the challenge. Phil was good enough to let me jump on in, so I'm building a Dark Elf army. Um, so yes, the army book in question. I had a lot of the 6th edition stuff, a lot of the army books from back in the day. I used to play Empire quite regularly, so I still had my books kicking around. So that was pretty handy for this. So the first thing I did was try to put together a list. I apologise, the picture quality might be a bit bad here, but I've got to lead the army a noble in light armour to begin with. I got 10 warriors with crossbows for 110 points, 15 warriors with spears, shields, and a full command group for 145. I'll actually be doing up a block of 20 because that gives me a bit more flexibility. I don't want to paint sort of part units just to get in under a point cap, but for the purposes of this challenge, I'll be counting 15. A block of 5 Dark Riders with a musician, because musicians are pretty much standard issue for light cavalry in this edition. And special choices, I managed to squeeze in a group of 5 shades to give the army a little bit of flexibility at 500 points. So that got me just limboing in with 499 under the cap. Next month, what I'll be seeking to do is to add a sorceress, a chariot, and 8 cold ones. So that'll get me my next 500 points for the bargain basement price of only painting 10 minis. And then the month after that, I'll look at adding in a battle standard bearer and fleshing out the core options a bit more. Because, yeah, I do like to have the hero or the general, the caster, and the battle standard bearer as default options for the character choices in fantasy armies. So the first thing I did was dig through the pile of shame when everybody, I guess, rage quit 8th edition. I was lucky enough to be able to pick up a lot of the older minis for bargain basement prices. And I'll be honest, a lot of them need a lot of love and attention. So I pulled out the Dark Elf ones that I had and sorted through to see if I could put together some usable units to cover off what I needed. Got most of what I needed. Still a few things missing though. So I had to get a little bit creative. So first up, I had 4 Dark Riders. I needed 5. So I went looking through various other kits, went to the Perry Miniatures Light Cavalry box, pulled one of the crossbows and the horn arm because I was short a musician. And I also pulled the other arm, the sort of the left arm to match the one with the right that has the horn. I've learned from experience you can get away with having components from different miniature lines in the same unit, but if you mix up a left and a right arm, it looks pretty stupid pretty quick. So if you're going to do any conversions, keep the arms on each miniature consistent with their opposite, if that makes sense. I then went to the Oathmark Human Cavalry kit, which I'm really loving this kit, and grabbed one of the bodies and torsos. Then jumped over to the Elf Light Infantry kit from Oathmark for a head. Now, I appreciate future Stu's going to be wondering what happened to all his bits when he comes to actually build these things, but seriously, screw that guy. He knows what he did. Anyhow, a bit of kit bashing, and I was left with this, which, as you can see, looks pretty ridiculous as far as posing on a Dark Elf steed is concerned. So the first thing I did was grab a cigarette lighter and try and heat up the knees and bend them back, and that gave me a really nice dose of melted plastic smells, but not much by way of productivity. So what I ended up doing was flipping the model upside down and cutting through the legs to try and get him to sit a bit better on the horse, and then went in with the cigarette lighter to try and bend him down around the horse. So after that, and a bit of green stuffing to hide all my sins, and some carefully placed equipment, I managed to get him to look a little bit like this. This is before I finished off the cloak and did all the gap filling and things. But he's starting to look like he at least belongs on the horse. You can see all the damage done to the legs in this shot. I then managed to find a big impressive sword, given he only had a crossbow at his leg, and no lance like the rest of his comrades. I thought, this will at least make him look a bit more like he fits with the unit. And that's the unit once it was all ready to go. Next up was the Shades. I didn't have any of the originals, and I wasn't really keen on paying the asking price to track some down secondhand. So I went back to the Dark Elf light infantry kit from Oathmark, pulled 5 of the torsos, 5 of the cloaked heads, and then got some spare Dark Elf repeater crossbow arms to kit them out and glued on little ammunition pouches on the side. Excuse me. So they're by no means as dynamic as the original models, but when they're painted up, I think I can almost see them as almost a special forces type unit. You can almost imagine them sort of scouting through the forest and trying to take things down with the repeaters. Whereas the originals, they just looked like they were ready to charge in and cause bloody mayhem. This is the character I'll be using for my general. I can't remember the name of the model. She's from Raging Heroes. So I'll kit her out with more equipment once I've got a higher point limit, but for now it's just the light armor. This was the force ready to go. The spearmen and the crossbowmen didn't really require much modification. All I did there was just drill out the front of the horns to give them a bit of depth. And I didn't notice at this stage, it wasn't until I fully painted, that the musician on the crossbow unit has his arm on backwards, so I didn't assemble these. These were just as they came. So at that point I had to sort of slice his thumb off, and once I've got some green stuff, I'll, again, hide sins with increasing the size of the guard on the arm or something to make it a bit less obvious. So a grey coat, then a white Zenith Prime, and I got on with the painting, so this is where I ended up. I went for a purple and white color scheme with a lot of bronze to try and make them look, I guess, regal and important, or self-important as the case is. I got into a habit from painting Napoleonics of, I guess, mirroring colors on the unit champion. So here what I've done instead is just had a different color shield, because what I'm hoping to do with these guys eventually is go for a Cult of Slaanesh army from the Storm of Chaos campaign for 6th edition. So I'll work these in with the Demon army, which have that more, I guess, magenta color to them. And again, I tend to go for brighter paint schemes because I feel it just looks better on the table. I've gone to a few tournaments and things, and you're sort of squinting at dark armies across the table, and you think you're playing Dark Elves, and it turns out to be Chaos or something. And I just struggle too much with the Grimdark, I guess. I like the bright, happy armies like the Bretonnians and the Empire with all the colour. All right, so we have... I probably went a little bit overboard with the layering on the cloaks on her and the riders, but yeah, reasonably happy with the way it turned out. Everything else was reasonably quick to do, so I was a bit happy to spend the extra time on doing some layer painting on a larger scale army, if that makes sense. Really like this miniature. I'm by no means a display painter, but I think that's okay for tabletop. It was a really fun miniature to paint. I get very nervous with having to paint anything from Raging Heroes or a Confrontation mini because, yeah, the minis are just basically too pretty, and I'm very nervous I won't be able to do them justice, but I was happy with that one. That's the crossbow unit. Again, you can see the musician with the hand on backwards. I will hide that later on, I promise. As you can see, I've given them a command group. That's not in the points cost. I just like to have the command group there for a bit of visible differentiation. The bases were just some Geek Gaming Scenics with Vallejo snow on top of them, so that was nice and quick to do. Yeah, the shades. Again, I tried to go for a colour scheme in keeping with the army, but something where you can imagine them sort of pulling the white cloaks about them to blend into the snow. So I think that's worked out reasonably okay. Uh, Not much to say about these guys. They were nice and easy to paint. Came up pretty well, I think. And that was possibly due to the paints I used. So it was Vallejo brass, which I'm now using instead of gold, and the metallic colors on them on the armor was Green Stuff World, one of their metallic paint lines, which was absolutely fantastic. Really liked that color. And finally, the shades. So, oh, sorry, the Dark Riders. So these were brilliant models to paint. I was really impressed with them. I've put the crossbows on all of them. It's not included in the point count, obviously, but yeah, I've got the flexibility later if I need to add them in. So happy with that. Again, I just used my standard layer painting on the horses. I went for 3-bay and a couple of grey just to break the unit up a bit. I didn't want to go all black horses or anything like that because, again, that looks a little bit grimdark for my personal tastes. So there you go. And you can see the musician does sort of blend in okay. Again, I've glued a pennant onto one of the lances, so I've got the option of running a full command group later if I feel the need. All right, so thanks very much for watching. I'll try and keep this going next month and do up a video once I've got the 10 minis painted. Thanks for watching. Hope everybody's well. Please take care.